I should... And we're live. My God. Okay, I need it. I need the link. Damn it. Hold on. Why does everything have to be complicated?
I didn't know we streamed the other one.
I think... What? No, we did. Okay, here we have it. Okay, so there are currently where people can hear us, but I haven't shared the link with anyone yet, so no one's watching yet.
Except for those on rewatch. Hey guys.
Hi! We're going to get started here in just a minute. Just going to share a couple links, including with Angel, so that they can watch. Okay, I sent the link to Discord. If you want me to send it to somewhere else, let me know.
No, you're good.
Okay. What do you think? Facebook? Yes. Whew. So, we're not doing the book that we talked about last time.
Let's introduce ourselves first.
Well, hold on. We're not quite there. I will multitasking. QWERTY chat. Paste. Doot. Okay, I've shared it with all 12 people I know. Okay, we're going to... All right, let's say we're officially starting now. Can you see the stream?
I see it.
Yay! Hello, everyone. My name's Casey. And
I'm Angel.
yes, my friend who is willing to put up with me doing all this nonsense. I'm super excited. It's episode 3 of Disreputable Reviews. And today we are not doing the book that we talked about at the end of last time, because scheduling and stuff is a challenge. You had a lot going on in your life, and we decided to go for a shorter book that I saw on your bookshelf when I was visiting you, and I was like, I like that book. Let's do that book instead. So, do you want to introduce the book?
Sure. I'm actually really glad you did bring it up because it's been a book that I've been wanting to read. It's All Systems Red: The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I got recommended it by someone I work with, and picked it up, and I had read like 5 books in this, or had listened to 5 books in the series by like the next week. And my coworker was like, I haven't even like done the second one yet. So I dive into stuff.
These are short novellas.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, at least for the first couple books. I'm pretty sure the latest one that she published is a full book, actually.
I think there are officially 2 novels in the series now, whereas most of them were like the first 3, I think, were novellas.
Are the novellas, yeah.
I should look that up, but I just don't have it in front of me right at the moment. It's okay. So we've got the cover art on the right of our screen here. Cover art was done by Jamie Jones, and with I guess the cover design by Christine Fultzer. I'm really excited to have that, and this is our first episode where we have fan art from the book. I'm super excited. I was trolling the internet and found some really cool fan art of All Systems Red characters and Murderbot, and it was really exciting to find someone who responded to me and said it was cool that we could use their fan art. So I've got some links in the description of the video and stuff if I did everything correctly, and so you guys can check out their Tumblr and a really cool animatic that they did. A whole bunch of art for Murderbot set to a video that's really evocative. But let's get started. Do we want to start again with like a plot synopsis?
Shout out first to Owlet in the chat. Thank you. Hello and thank you for all the hearts.
Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoy. It's always interesting to have new content, and I hope it's good. All right, so um, All Systems Red is set in kind of a future. There's not really an official date for when it's set, but it could easily be imagined 100 years in the future, or I mean, even like 50 years in the future, or just a little bit more. Space travel is happening. It's not perfectly defined, but it feels a lot like kind of like Star Trek and other things where it's just it. A lot of things are very familiar in how they work, but there's just a little bit more tech, and space travel works because that makes life more interesting in most books, or most sci-fi books, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is going to be our first sci-fi one for the channel, but I'm sure we'll do more. Um, what do you think of sci-fi generally, Angel? Like out of like
It,
compared to fantasy or kind of the urban fantasy or all sorts of
to
stuff.
be honest, this is like my first or second book that I've actually read that was sci-fi. Because I'm mostly someone who does like hardcore fantasy or like urban fantasy.
Hmm.
So this was really fun and new for me, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to read more from this series and to broaden my range and check out some other sci-fi work.
Me too. I hope we definitely dive into some. Yeah, I really enjoy fantasy. That's kind of how I got introduced to just fiction in general, is high fantasy stuff. But sci-fi, I just have a love for it. I really like just tech and grit and like the realism that comes with some of it. And I mean, my you know, love for like gaming and stuff like that started out with games like Halo. So kind of a little bit of sci-fi is pretty good fun. So as we start out, our main character, and one thing I should say is this novel is told very much from like a first-person perspective, which is cool. There's different perspectives that you can do. There's third person. There's like omniscient narrator and stuff, and we've got this one which is very first person with a lot of like little internal narration and basically the main character just talking to us. It's kind of framed as like their logs for themselves forever, but it's kind of fun to have. But the main character of this book is um, what is known in universe as a sec unit or a construct. So they are made from a combination of living tissue that's like cloned from human beings and like licensed, what not licensed, what patented, technology and very sci-fi robot parts. So in our they have a combination of inorganic parts and organic parts, and they really kind of dive into some of the details of like how that works together and stuff like that. As much as that is so like I have heard some people say that like Murderbot is a robot, and it's weird because they think too much like a person, but to me they're very much human. They have just been born in this situation where they're kind of considered a slave and kind of considered a robot and just forced to work and do things. Um,
Yeah, they're in that weird in between where they're not a robot, but they're
but
not seen as strictly human.
mhm. But
Because they're not, I guess.
the book starts out with them on a planet working what they do for a job. Well, the slave labor essentially. What they do for what they do is protect people on like surveys and missions and things like that. So the company that owns and created Murderbot is it get hires out these constructs, these sec units to protect people.
Yeah, and Murderbot's specifically a sec unit, a security bot, because there are other types, because it does mention earlier and later in the story that there are like military ones that are specifically for combat.
And comfort
That's not what
units.
this one is. Yes, and there's a mention of comfort units as well.
So the plot breakdown can be really quick once we kind of set up who they are, what they are. Um, first book follows Murderbot on uh, a mission to a planet where a group of people, scientists mainly, are doing a survey to see if they want to get, I guess, mining or mineral rights to the planet. And they're here doing a survey, but something big and catastrophic happens, and Murderbot has to protect them from like these like big local creature that attacks. Um, and it's cool. We get to see Murderbot kind of like jumping in, helping people, doing a part of their job that they seem to at least be proud of themselves. I'm not sure if they enjoy it, but later at least they seem proud of themselves for doing it well.
Hmm.
And so our characters on the planet are interesting. Our characters on the scientific team are really interesting because they Murderbot comes from this perspective of everything is a everything is corporate owned. Everything is like business and owned. So like there's the way that they talk about it. It feels kind of familiar to the modern world. Like everyone has to work constantly, or like they get into a bad situation and then they end up basically being forced into slave labor. Even humans can be. And but the people on the scientific survey are different because they're from what they call a free polity, which is a planet that was colonized and is not corporate controlled. So they're kind of an interesting perspective. And I guess it seems like it's one of the first contracts that Murderbot is enjoying because the people aren't constantly trying to hurt each other and they don't have to step in and they aren't ordering the sec units to hurt each other. And so it's a little bit of a mystery kind of in the first part of the book because like they had information on the planet and it didn't say that these living things were here, and then they find more missing information in their survey package. And then they go they reach out to another survey on the planet, so it sounds like they're kind of maybe even a few hundred miles away. But there's another group on the planet called the Deltfall group, and there's other people doing a similar survey. And what is it? I'm saying a lot, and I'm trying to step on myself. So the mystery kind of unfolds with uh, them contacting the other group, finding out that there are missing pieces in their survey too. Then they say that they're going to get together and find out what was like if they have information that the other's missing. They fly out, a couple hundred miles away. It sounds like, or kilometers in this, I guess. Um, and then they land at the other habitat for this other group, and then it starts being like the creepy murder mystery kind of thing because they start finding dead bodies, and Murderbot is attacked by some other sec units. They One of the humans, so one of the very important named humans in the series, Mensa, who is the leader of the Free Polity survey group, she saves Murderbot from like a bad situation. They get free and escape, they some adventure ensues as they try to get away from this other survey group. Or yeah, so I guess there's a secret third survey group on the planet, and they've been like hacking, or yeah, they've been taking control of the other sec units and forcing them to kill people, and basically just trying to take over the planet. Because as it turns out, there are like alien remnants from like it's like ancient ruins, but it's alien tech, and it's really dangerous. So this group wants it because they can, research from it and steal it and essentially make a lot of money off of it, but it's illegal, so they don't want anyone to know that it exists. Um, there's some action sequences which are kind of fun. Um, Murderbot gets pretty seriously hurt, and it's cool because we have some moments with Dr. Mensa connecting with them, and we kind of get to the end, but I'll leave that as we discuss it. So, are there any parts that you kind of want to jump in and focus on?
Well, just an overarching thing. This is not a bad thing, but like it's lacking a little bit of world building, but that's kind of the point, I think, because this is a story about character exploration in this sci-fi world, and we're in
Very
it's
much so.
first person, so we're seeing everything through Murderbart's eyes, and like Murderbot's not worried about all the stuff out in the world. They're not just gonna say it for us.
Yeah,
They're only really worried.
they literally deleted the information on like what the planet was and what it was called and details about it because they wanted more space for media.
Exactly. All they care about is A, watching their TV shows, relatable,
Hmm.
being semi-competent at their job,
Hmm.
and not getting caught.
Yeah.
And they said before that the educational modules that they get suck, so
Yeah, they're sort of created. I kind of imagine them like kind of like the clones from Star Wars, where they're just sort of created and they're raised really quickly, and they're given these like training sequences, modules that just like this is how you do this, 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 and they don't forget
yeah,
it because they have like digital memory to some extent. But it's just
yeah,
like you have no practical experience.
nope. So like in that sense, at least in this first book, the world building's not really there, but I didn't care
Yeah.
because I was just so enamored by this character. They were just so fun to listen to.
Um,
It was really good.
so I mean, the first line in the book is Murderbot saying, um, I could have become a mass murderer after I hacked my governor module, but then I found out I could access the entertainment feeds. And it's so
Right?
solid, like God, that feels relatable. Not like,
It's
oh,
like
we want to be a mass murderer. It's sort of just like, God, sometimes it feels like the expectations that reality has on you is like, you're going to do all of this, and you're going to do all of this, and you're going to do all of this. And then it's like, yeah, but I just want to go to work and entertain myself.
it's like I just want to sit down and watch TV. Can you just
Did you
leave me
have
alone, please?
Did you happen to do the math? Because he said like, sorry, I keep saying they said 35,000 hours or something like that, right?
Yeah.
How long is that?
How long is 35?
Yeah,
30?
yeah. So how long
Ooh,
has it been?
let's see. Interesting. Um, almost 4 years.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like consistently. Like no stop. 4 years.
Hmm. Slightly more than 35,000 hours because they've been working, and sometimes they
Yeah.
they 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 sort of sleep. I don't know. That's one thing
Yeah,
that's not
kind of.
super explained is they go into like a power down mode, but it seems like they can sort of entertain themselves in the meantime as long as they're not super damaged or anything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they've been staying entertained and essentially like humanizing themselves by watching media. I know that sounds weird, but it's like they didn't really, when they first hacked their module, they didn't really have any context of what to do next or anything. And then a
Hmm.
lot of their like life reference, a lot of their understanding of people comes through media. And like they know
Yeah.
that's a colored filter, but it's what they have, so you hear them reference that sometimes.
Hmm.
I like how they describe like, people don't normally look like they do in the hollow vids or whatever.
Yeah, like the ages too in the holoviz are just not quite right. So they didn't know how old their scientist people were because they're like, I have no reference.
Yeah. And that's kind of interesting. And it's like, yes, there's limited world building because of the things that Murderbot doesn't know or doesn't relay to us, but there's also
Hmm.
a lot of world building of kind of things that are important to them. Stuff about how the company works, stuff about the technology of the world, the things that they're kind of intimately familiar with. And I think that's
It,
really
it's
rich.
it's slowly feeding us information as Murderbot learns and figures things out as well, and probably within the next books as well, how their situations change and what they think is important as the story progresses. So I'm excited to
Yeah.
see what that would be.
Yeah. And even though they gripe about their job, they do it and they take some pleasure, at least, in doing it well. Um, One thing I like about Murderbot as well is that they have emotions. They very clearly have emotions. And it's relatable, though. It's not, oh, they're falling in love with this person. It's not some dramatic thing. It's like, no, they're just people. They're annoyed by stuff they have to deal with at work. They're, you know, confused by some things that they see in media. They're and they're lonely. They're so lonely at the start of it, I feel like. I don't know
And
if
they don't know, and they don't know that they're lonely, at least not right away, I don't think.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're very well realized and fleshed out. Um, they're slightly depressed, extremely socially anxious and awkward, and they just want to be left alone to watch their TV shows and
Yeah.
forget the world. And relatable, honestly.
I don't want to feel like I'm calling you out, but I do want to ask, like, does it feel like a good representation of just like being antisocial?
Yes, okay. I relate on more than one level with Murderbot. They make a couple statements later on, like they have like an adverse reaction to the pleasure bots or being like thought of as like a pleasure bot. And so that
Yeah.
was really interesting, their reaction to that.
Yeah, no, they say that they like fast forward or skip past all of the sex scenes in in media, and they're like,
Yes.
I don't have any parts related to that, and they're so clear they have no interest in any of that. They are not male, they are not female, they don't want anything to do with that.
Yes. Relatable.
And I'm doing my best to say them for them because I really do see them as a them. Um,
Even though they're referred to in the book as it,
yeah, so
but
that's a
that's
thing. Like it's
which I understand.
they never express a preference for it, so I'm gonna go with them. But other humans in the series do call them it. But to me, that feels very much on the side of the people who say that are usually people who are being portrayed in a negative light, at least in that moment. So, um, there is one moment later in a series where, um, later in the series. So I don't know if you noticed, but the humans from Preservation, who are kind of like from this kind of free entity, it seems like a very progressive community and stuff like that. Um, but they're in like when they describe their relationships, it's really interesting to find that there's like, oh, three people in a relationship together and they have kids together, and it's just like it's treated as so normal.
I know. I wrote that down. I was like, oh my gosh, I love the inclusion of different family dynamics. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
There is at one point later in the series, a kid of Dr. Mensa's refers to Murderbot jokingly as their third mom. Which makes me think that if you were to make art of Murderbot, they would be at least androgynous enough that someone could say that and it makes sense, right? And it's also interesting because like I listen to these on audiobooks, right? And the first audiobook that came out for Martha Wells, All Systems Red, as far as I can tell, had the oh no, I didn't write this down because I'm bad. I'll have it in just a second. The person who read it has a very I don't know how to say. They have a masculine voice. It's not overtly masculine, but it's like it's narrated by Kevin R. Free. But I think they do a good job because they're portraying anyone who reads an audiobook by themselves is portraying characters of all different genders. I feel like they do well enough at representing Murderbot as a generally genderless person.
Hmm.
However, there's like a dramatized adaptation with like multiple cast members and stuff. And the person they chose for Murderbot in that, the voice just threw me off. Because I was like, oh, I'm always down for this. I like radio plays and things like that. And it was just like, this is so jarring. It like masculinizes them in a way that I just found really. It wasn't part of my conception of the character. And I haven't even
Yeah.
finished that adaptation of it yet, and I'm not sure if I did. I saw that they did the second book now, or the second novella. And I just narrator makes is important to audiobooks and it's important to your perception of audiobooks. How was it like
Hmm.
reading it in paper? Like did you feel like how do you think Murderbot talks?
Well, I think because I felt very like I related so much, it was almost put myself in their shoe. So I guess I'm very skewed towards kind of me,
I've
but
actually yeah, I totally see that. I've actually seen in like reviews on like Amazon and stuff like that of the series. It seems like the person who's reading it gender often gets put onto Murderbot because it's pretty easy for people to see themselves in that position.
mhm.
But with you, you get no filter. They are just genderless. It's great.
Yeah. So
uh,
yeah. But
oh,
I did watch other reviews of people referring to Murderbot as both he and she, and I'm like, huh, I wonder what made them think that, you know? And it was actually the opposite of what you said. It was a
really?
guy who was referring it to a girl, and it was a girl who was referring to Murderbot as a guy.
Really? Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I've just kind of seen it. I mean, I sample size of like four. I've seen people saying it that they
Yeah.
kind of saw it like themselves. So but
Yeah.
I'm really happy referring to them as them or it potentially, but I want to try to keep it that way, so I'm going to do my best. If I stumble over it, I apologize to everyone who is non binary.
It's okay. It's okay.
um, but it, it's kind of really cool to have a series like this that's it's portraying a future and they actually take the time to think about like what would a future progressive civilization look like and how would that affect people. So the people from preservation, they feel so different from the people from the corporation rim, in the
Hmm.
interactions that are in the book. um,
Yeah.
what do you think of the characters from preservation? Like do you remember any of their names and stuff, or are they
Um, Rati. Rati is
Rati?
my favorite.
Yes. they
Rati was great.
Yeah, they're the one who they get in danger at first, and Murderbot is like saves them, and they're the first person to defend Murderbot when everybody kind of accuses him of or them of bad things. They,
Hmm.
and then we have Doctor Mensa. Um, I'm actually
Who's
gonna
in
start.
charge?
I'm actually gonna start pulling up some art. So, um,
Yeah, the person who did the art has some arts of all of these characters, which is really cool. Like their interpretation of what they would look at like.
my art has disappeared. Oh no! Hold on, I'm gonna go grab it again.
That's okay. Another character is Garathan, which is he's an interesting character because he's a augmented human, so he has um robot parts. So he's more similar to Murderbot, but he's not quite that far. Like I think he was human, he just has robot parts.
Yeah, so that's kind of
Is my
that's
understanding.
augmented human is a pretty common term in sci-fi. That's kind of especially near future sci-fi because it's like
Mm-hmm.
people who get some sort of computer augment put in, um, so that they can potentially like use the internet just straight through their mind, essentially like that. They have access to the feed, and they portray that really well. And I think that they use it in this book as a good representation of like we're not that different, you know. We aren't that different from augmented humans, and augmented humans aren't that different from sec units or constructs. It's really baffling that we see each other so differently sometimes,
Hmm.
and I like how that's portrayed. So at the very
Yeah.
end of this book, sec unit is kind of like they're out of their armor and they're getting perceived as just a person, and I think that that's it's important to show. So I put up the art of like sec unit in all their armor from the a really amazing um, animatic that was made by Mar slash Souldagger. They have a YouTube channel I put a link to, and it's really cool how they portray it. It's kind of similar to what's on the cover art of the book. How there's like armor and a very faceless mask, and that's kind of a key thing in the book too. Like it's one of the ways that they show Murderbot expressing their emotions is that their face will change because they're used to being behind a helmet. They haven't trained themselves to like hide their emotions or anything like that. So they
Hmm.
just express themselves without thinking about it. And then later
Um,
we had the apparently I just broke everything.
okay. Well, another person
Yep.
is Barjois.
Yeah, Dr.
Barjois.
Bardwaj, who's like they all have roles and it's described and stuff. I didn't make like some list to reference because I remember their characters, especially from the later books. You get to know them a little bit more. Doctor
Hmm.
Bardwaj is sort of he feels like kind of a second in command. Um, he's somewhat of a computer tech, but mostly it seems like kind of an analyst to me. Like they seem like they look at all the data that the other people bring in and stuff like that. So I couldn't tell you like what specialty they're a doctor in at all. That it's just not a detail that Murderbot knows, and it's not something that's said overtly.
Yeah, they were the ones I think that got hurt right away in the beginning. So they were kind of out. They weren't in much of the first book at all.
Oh yeah, you're right. They were the first person who got hurt. Oh, I confused them with the other character. Oh yeah, no, I confused them with someone else earlier. I failed.
Hmm.
Well, but
That's okay.
we don't spend a ton of time with them individually. So that yeah, they're kind of out for a bit. They do defend Murderbot in like the one scene. And
Hmm.
what do you think of like Murderbot has this like expectation that anyone who finds out that they hacked their governor module, that they're not like under control, is gonna just be really suspicious of them, right? And that doesn't
Well,
really play
yeah.
out. And I think that's kind of funny. Like, does that?
Well, luckily it doesn't play out. I feel like if it was almost any other team that Murderbot would be with, would
Yeah,
have freaked out.
yeah. I think it's interesting that like the Grey Chris, which are kind of the bad guys of the this first novella. Grey Kit Chris, their representatives, when they find out that they're like a rogue sec unit, they don't necessarily react like that much either. Um,
Well, to be fair, they have a lot of things going on that they're trying to fix first.
yeah, all in all, as far as evil plans go, theirs was kind of high on the body count and low on the planning.
Yes.
kill everybody and blame other people.
Like Murderbot even mentioned, like they look like they don't know what they're doing. They don't even have like they just have security bots. They don't even have
Mm-hmm.
military bots.
Mm-hmm. What do you think though, specifically of the relationship between Murderbot and Dr. Mensa? There's a couple moments where like Dr. Mensa is
Yikes.
portrayed in a very, very positive light,
Why are
and
you whispering?
I have at least heard some people say that it seems like they have a crush on Dr. Mensa, and I'm kind of curious how you feel about all that. Hello? Oh
No,
no.
I'm good. Sorry.
Oh, good. We still got you. Let me know if I need to repeat my question.
Probably because my grandma came
Oh,
in.
oh, I see. I see. What do you think of the relationship between Dr. Mensa and Murderbot?
Oh, I thought that was really cute because like throughout the book, Murderbot's like saying like some of the decisions that she's making, she's just like he admires they admire her a lot, and they were even like, I'm gonna hack into their file and put in a good word for them or something.
Yes.
And like at the very end, they're like, "You're my favorite human." So I was like, "Ah, that is so cute."
Hmm.
I'm glad that he found this group of people and had such a good interaction with people, because throughout you just hear terrible things that people would do or say, or just like not even engage because they don't see them as anything.
Like, stand
So I'm
here,
I'm glad
hold
he's
this,
got
expect you
positive.
to be there
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah,
It's
like they said they would make him stand there day and night until they needed them. Gosh.
yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like the humanity of the characters that we're introduced to is so strong in this, and it's very positive. But like humanity in general does not come off very well in this book. Like from Murderbot's perspective, humans are kind of hmm
Yeah.
not amazing.
To to be fair, Murderbot doesn't have a great relationship with Garathan,
Hmm.
and the Murderbot even said like, I don't understand, I don't like you, but I like them, and for some reason they like you, so I'm not gonna kill you.
Yes, solid. Oh,
So.
Garathan is an augmented human, and that's different from a lot of people from Preservation because he's not originally from Preservation. He
Mhm.
was he was part of the corporate rim, and he kind of got away from it and joined Preservation later. So has the augments and stuff, and is more familiar. So they're kind of our one of our window characters into what it's like to actually be in the corporation rim, and
Mhm.
they know what sec units are. They know stories about sec units going rogue and killing people, and they find like evidence that that happened previously. So that's another thing is Murderbot has all the trauma, as any good character does. It seems like
Yes.
uh, Murderbot. It sounds so frustrating the experience because they know that they were somewhere where the sec units killed everybody, and what they don't know is whether or not they were responsible for it. So this happened prior to them hacking their governor module. Since then, they've had their memory erased, but it's never a complete memory erase because it only erases the parts that are in digital storage. So they don't know what happened exactly, but they know that everybody died and they think it's their fault.
Yeah.
And um, Garathan finds evidence of that and is like, they call themselves Murderbot in their head. This is clearly problematic.
Yeah, and Murderbot got really mad that they
Hmm.
shared that he shared that information. He's like, that was private.
Yeah. We're never really given anything else to call them, though. So, like, we're saying Murderbot this whole time because that's the character's name as far as we have one. Otherwise, a
Hmm.
lot of the characters in the story just say Sec Unit, and they seem okay with that because they don't want to be human. I think that's something
No.
you see a lot in sci-fi is if there is a robot who's near human, their aspiration is often to be more like human. And one um, Murderbot is not actually a robot. They are really closer to human than a robot, but they don't necessarily want to be human or seen as
No,
human.
no.
And, I can identify sometimes. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. That's a quote from something, but it's really great. And we get through all the action sequence. I definitely encourage people to read the book to get it. It's a very gritty, like sci-fi, like the hacking and stuff like that. What did you think of like the technology just overall? Do you feel like you have a pretty good understanding of how things work? You don't feel confused by it, or is it kind of hard as someone who doesn't read sci-fi that much?
Oh, I think the author did a pretty good job of simplifying it because I didn't feel completely lost, but I also felt like I didn't need to understand the little bits of it to get what was happening.
Hmm.
I knew enough to follow along,
Yeah,
which is perfectly fine with me.
yeah. I think they did an amazing job at just making it believable for someone who like knows enough about technology to be dangerous. It felt believable. It's a little bit beyond our current tech, especially things like the healing tech. That's really cool that exists. It just sort of solves a lot of problems in the stories. But Murderbot can just be like healed overnight from the most gruesome of injuries because they have like a machine that just sort of takes them apart and puts them back together again. And it feels just close enough to real that it makes for really good sci-fi in my opinion.
Mhm.
And then it serves the purpose for the story without being obtrusive. Then we get to the ending, though, so definitely hard kind of spoilers, I guess. But in the end, our hero wins, I suppose.
Yeah,
um,
they survive at least and
yeah,
escape the planet.
yeah. Everyone on preservation team survives. Murderbot survives, kind of barely, but really dramatic rescue at the end where Murderbot saves Mensa. They end up hugging, essentially. And then Mensa essentially buys Murderbot, which is such an interesting thing. It's like, what would it feel like? It's got to be, I don't know. This is so not an experience I've had, but I guess it is this like back in the day when people were legitimately slaves and like someone would like care for another person deeply enough that they would like purchase them as a slave to free them from a bad master or something like that. Like that's so weird.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's not really I don't feel like that's the subject matter that the book is really diving into. Although it's close. It feels very emotional to me, but I don't know exactly what emotion. What do you think Murderbot actually feels about like Mensa being their owner essentially?
Well, in the end, okay, so before, Rati tells Murderbot that the preservation
Mhm.
um control territory, like bots are considered free citizens.
Yeah.
But like Murderbot's thinking like free citizens still means having a human or augmented human guardian.
Yeah.
And a guardian was a nicer word than owner. So like they still see it
Mhm.
as ownership, and I think that bugs them because that's the reason I think why they left in the end because that's not what they want.
Yeah. Mensa, I think from Mensa's perspective, it was like, I can't leave you in this space. I have to do what I can. So they buy their contract permanently, and from their perspective, Mensa invites them to come to preservation, where we'll treat you like a person and all
Yeah,
of the best
no,
things in the world.
like I get that. I would do the same thing that Mensa did, but like in Murderbot's head, these are the dots that are connecting for them,
Yeah,
and they're just like, I can't have that.
yeah.
Um,
So Murderbot nopes the hell out of there.
yeah,
Basically, they go ahead.
I'll read a quote. It says, "I don't know what I want. I said that at some point, I think, but it's that I don't want anyone telling me what I want or to make decisions for me. That's why I left you."
Yeah, yeah. They leave a really Makes me so entertained that there's like this black market of just mass storage of media and entertainment. It's the only thing the robots care about.
Well, yeah, at least the transport ones
Hmm.
in Murderbot.
It's gotta get like, well, that's the thing. Like, it's not necessarily explained. Like, oh yeah, these ships do have some kind of faster than light travel because they get places in days, not months and years. But they can spend days or weeks traveling at a time. So yeah, media and just entertainment would be incredibly important, just like it is in
Yeah,
the world we live in now, right? Um,
yeah.
and I think it's interesting. A lot of the references that they're making and stuff are to media that sounds a lot like television, but they do say that they watch like scientific lectures and um, was it like plays or something like that, or listen to music. At one point,
Music, yeah.
they were talking about like, okay, could I listen to music at work, and or will I get caught doing that?
Yeah.
That's great. That's solid.
Yeah.
So I super duper enjoyed the book. I'm excited for more, and I have several books further. Are you excited to read the next book at all?
Yes. I'm so excited.
uh, have you bought it yet?
No, no. I'll make my little brother buy it for me for Christmas or something.
I was thinking I'd put it on my list of things I could potentially buy you for Christmas or something, but
Oh, you do that. I'll make my brother buy me a hat. I need a winter hat.
oh, winter hat. I see. I see.
Hmm.
And then yeah, the next book in the series, I had it in front of me a second ago. Artificial Condition. It introduces kind of one of the other main characters of the series. I'm really excited for you to read it, so hopefully you'll
Okay.
get it, and we'll probably do another episode on that here eventually. But in the meantime, I do want to ask,
Hmm.
um, and I will just comment. Anyone who's read the book, please mention in the comments what you thought, what's your perspective, or did we get something totally wrong? Any of that. I want to hear it. I want to see it. All the comments. But
Discussions are good.
yes. But for our next episode, do you want to continue to try to read Tess of the Emerald Sea?
Uh,
I know you were a fair way through it.
yeah, I think I can finish
Yeah. Hey, we don't have a hard set schedule for when we're going to come out
it.
with these. I would love to make it more regularly, but I have the luxury of listening to stuff in audiobook. I can do it in a couple days, basically when I'm not thinking about it. But that's, you know, I don't have time to sit down and read stuff all the time. I wish I did. So, and not everyone does. So,
No, that's good. So
well,
yeah, this was.
yeah. So
I
next,
really love this book. I'm really glad that you made me read it.
uh, were we doing ratings? Did we give the other books ratings? I don't know.
Kind of. Regardless, this is a 5 out of 5. I don't care. I don't want to think too far into it. It was just amazing.
For me, it was as well. Honestly, I would recommend it to anyone who's interested in sci-fi or just kind of the
Especially
definition.
because it's
Like,
so short.
yeah,
It's just a nice little bite. Like, try this out. It won't take you long. It literally took like, I don't know, 3, 4 hours to read.
hmm,
And, like nothing.
yeah. And a lot of sci-fi touches on what it means to be human, but I think this is a really unique perspective on it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll catch you next time with the next book, and we'll see y'all again soon.